The market made new all-time highs again today, closing just above yesterday's open price, with the S&P 500 closing at 6,021 and change. Our dealer cluster zone has gone up from the 6,000 level to now at 6050, which is the largest gamma exposure concentration, and the range is going up to nearly 6150 up here, and there's even large gamma exposure concentration now growing at the 6200 strike. Market participants continue to be very bullish in the broad indices heading into year end. This is something that we have been discussing on this channel for the last several months, and in particular the last couple of weeks, even as we had this dip, found some footing, and have now rallied back into these large positive gamma exposure concentrations. The current GEX data is showing that there is still more room to go. If we do get above the 60-50 level this week, I would be looking for some sort of pullback or consolidation before re-entering any longs, but this is clearly a buy the dip environment when it comes to gamma exposure.
Thanks, Anthony. We've covered the S&P quite a bit recently, and I wanted to look at the indices from an indicator perspective using the Keltner channels. Man, it's been pretty strong across the board lately. But one thing I wanted to point out is you can see SPX doesn't have a lot of room to get to that top channel, 60.35, which would be a new high, by the way. That is the top of the daily Keltner. And we do have this uptrend that's been going on. What this implies to me is that if the Keltners keep moving higher, that continues to provide a higher indicator limit for the S&P to reach along the way and kind of maintains that uptrend. But we are near the top of the channel. And if we look at QQQ, I wanted to point out that it's actually underperformed lately, and that could be viewed two ways. Number one, we may have more of an opportunity if you go long the Qs versus the S&P. If we do continue to see more upside, we may see the NASDAQ play catch up. With 519 being the top of the Keltner channel, it's not just a few points away, it's like 2% away. So that's quite a big difference. And we won't pull it up right now, but if you looked at IWM or DIA, both of those are above the top Keltner channel. So in my methodology, personally, when I see things above the top Keltner, I lose a little bit of interest because that tends to be a sign of being overbought. And typically when we reach the top of that channel, we find some reason to see the price come back down for even just a short period of time. So that's one thing I wanted to point out. And we do have the gamma levels reflecting a fairly wide dealer cluster zone. This thing stretches all the way up to close to 520. It basically almost matches that top Keltner channel in the 517 to 518 range.
Yeah, Sean, and nothing tells us that we are in a risk-on environment more than Bitcoin hitting 100,000, or almost hitting 100,000, I should say, trading now at 92,000 and change. And I'll just zoom in here. It came so close, just within a couple of hundred points of hitting 100,000. In terms of gamma exposure, of course, the largest GEX concentration is at the 100,000 strike. Dealer selling pressure kicked in as we approach that level, and we see it has forced price all the way back down to our lower dealer cluster zone here in the green, just below 92,000. We've got volume coming in here at the 92,000 strike, but we also have pretty decent volume coming in at the 97,000 and continuing to come in at the 100,000 strike as well. This zone here around 92,000 was a previous resistance zone. So now that we broke out of that zone and have come all the way back down to it, I would look for this to be another support level to find some foundation and potentially come back up into this 100,000 strike by year end.
Anthony, a few days ago, we pointed out TLT as being of interest based on both the GEX picture and also the fact that we had regained this whole moving average, which is this pink line here that currently reflects a 90.65. Pardon my circle, but it may surprise those that are used to more smaller moves when a stock starts going up. But this is very typical for Treasury bonds, which I don't think are very easy to trade, actually. But TLT basically gapped up, and I'll call that vindication. We've seen this move from that 90 area up to 92, and really what I wanted to look at is the Keltner's point to 94 as being the next target up. Based on gamma, That top Keltner channel matches up this 93 to 94 area where we're seeing volume. We also have gamma at 93, and we have gamma up at 95 and that at 100. So it doesn't mean we hit all of those, but we do have enough interest above, and we have positive gamma, very positive, and so it would not be surprising to see the momentum continue higher for the time being with TLT.
Next, I want to take a look at Amazon. Amazon having a big day today, up 3.28%, closing just above the 208 level. The largest GEX is at 210, so that seems like the next obvious target. Big volume coming in, over 200,000 contracts traded today at that 210 strike. This was previously a resistance level a couple of times now over the last few weeks. And so I think another move into this level, consolidation, could set up for further movement, especially if we get more gamma exposure, more volume coming in at the 215 and 220 strike. It's at this point, it looks to be low probability that we get up into those levels, but as time progresses, we could see more volume and more positioning coming in at those levels. So we're watching that very closely. We're actually trading this in our Geek portfolio, which you can check out in our community Discord. And I'll put a link down in the description below for you guys to check that out. We've got a ton of great traders in there sharing information and trade ideas, so you definitely don't want to miss that. Also, if you're interested in accessing our gamma exposure dashboard and our option flow analytics, head on over to geeksoffinance.com. We're currently running a Black Friday special. Code Black Friday at checkout, $300 off our yearly portfolio manager tier subscription. Definitely want to take advantage of that as we only have a few spots remaining. Thanks so much everybody for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.